Hi again, everyone. It's Ashley from the CoEdition team. I am so sorry if you just tuned in to the last live. We were having some technical difficulties. So welcome back to another segment of On the Plus Side. Tonight we have an incredible guest. It's the first time we're doing an interview of someone in the plus community, and I'm very, very excited. She is so incredibly talented. Her name is Ashley Monique Menard. She is from Lafayette, Louisiana, but she is a New York gal through and through. She's been here for a hot minute. She is a writer, a director, an actor, a singer. She created one of the funniest mockumentaries I have ever seen called The Art of Blowing It. She has sung in almost every nightclub in New York City with her Adele cover band. And she has her very own podcast called Eff Your Fears. So, without further ado, let me bring in the other Ashley. It'll be a third evening. Hi, ladies. Hey. Thank you so much for coming on the plus side. I am so thrilled to have you as our first guest person. And I cannot wait. Woo!
Me too. I'm stoked.
I cannot wait to get into this with you.
Me too.
Wow. I am blown away by your talent. I have to tell you, last night, okay, well, first and foremost, if you guys, CoEdition, if you have seen a couple of our live try-ons, this gal right here, Ashley, yesterday she did a live try-on with me. And then back in 2020, she also did a couple of live try-ons with me. So if she looks familiar to you, that is why. She has modeled for us a couple of times. But so last night I got home and we had spoken about, you know, what we were going to talk about today. And you would talk to me about the show you created, The Art of Blowing It. So I went on YouTube last night and I binged 6 episodes.
Oh my God. Oh, that's great.
So good, Ashley. And we will definitely talk about that because I am literally just like floored. I feel like I am like starstruck. So why don't we start from the beginning? Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself, how you, like, what was your upbringing like, how you got into acting?
Yeah. So like you said, I'm from Lafayette, Louisiana. I was born right next to a bayou.
No.
So you're a kid, you know, you'd go in the backyard and you'd play with little crawfish mud pies, like the little things that the crawfish kind of come through. Like that's, you know, that's kind of like to set the tone of where I grew up. So I grew up in Louisiana, and when I was a child, I did a lot of singing. I loved country music, but I also really liked to create characters with my sister.
Oh, fun.
So we did a lot of voiceover work. We could look at it that way. It was voiceover work. Non-union, no pay voiceover work of like a little 5-year-old creating these like mother and father characters and like just trying to create these interesting people when I was small. Like a lot of kids are. It's so funny. I have a couple of nephews and one of them has a really big imagination. And as he's grown up, I've seen his imagination like stay with him. And that's one of the things that a lot of performers tend to have. We have that creativity and that curiosity that kind of sticks with us.
Yeah.
So grew up in Louisiana and gravitated toward the arts instantly.
So right in your blood.
Yeah.
You are a showbiz kind of gal.
Well.
So you did a lot of performing growing up, a lot of different stuff, it sounds like. And then what brought you to New York?
So New York, I had a friend named James Beard, and whenever we were doing musicals at Lafayette High, James turned to me one day and he's like, I'm moving to New York and I'm gonna be on Broadway. And I was like, what's Broadway? And he was like, well, we can go to my house and we can go on the internet. And I'm like, what's the internet? Yeah, that's the time that this was. So we went to his house and he pulled up a audio track that someone had uploaded to Napster. And it was of a Broadway show, and we listened to it, and I was like, wow. And I realized what Broadway was.
Wow.
Because I wasn't that grew up watching the Tonys or anything like that. We didn't really know about, like, we knew about musicals, but we knew about the Sound of Music on TV, Julie Andrews. We didn't know that people were in New York City doing it on stage. And I fell in love with musicals so much, and I was like, I would like to do that. That makes sense. I can do that. So I moved to New York to go to school for musical theater at AMDA, the American Musical and Dramatic Academy.
Awesome.
Like other hopefuls. And yeah, I was a very large fish in a very small pond in Louisiana. And getting here, I was the smallest little minnow.
And we all are.
Yeah. So it was interesting getting here, and AMDA was very eye-opening.
Yeah. So, okay, so kind of going into like you being a plus size actress, have you been plus size your whole life?
I have been. It's funny. I was watching a video yesterday of me as a child, because that's what you do when you get lonely. You watch, old movies of your family. And I was watching a little video, and I was tiny, but I was a big tiny kid. You know what I mean? Like a 6-year-old that was a little chunky. And as I got older, I was always a little chunky. And as I got into my teens, I got boobs when I was like 11, and they're the same size that they are now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, but I also had a big butt, and I had big thighs, and I hated it because it was fat, and when you were a kid, you just don't want to be fat because then you get teased by everyone.
Right. So that being said, like you moving to New York City, obviously to pursue musical theater was a huge deal.
Yeah. I moved after 9/11.
What?
I moved a month after 9/11.
Oh my gosh. That takes some guts. Wow.
Guts is one way of thinking of it. I think it was just determination to like try to get to the next phase of life.
Yeah.
And I knew Lafayette, Louisiana wasn't going to be it. I did not want to be a music teacher, and I did not want to direct the musicals.
Right.
Like those were the only two options of jobs that I would have. And so I didn't want to do any of those.
Gotcha. So when you moved to New York and you're like, I'm going to pursue musical theater. This is what I'm doing. This is what I love. Obviously, you're wildly talented. So you have the talents, but were you ever worried like about your body or being plus size, about that holding you back in any way?
My mother told me from a very young age that if you can see it, others can see it. So that gave me a stigma quick. So I was always worried that my weight was going to be an issue, especially just like growing up. I just always kind of knew that it would be something. And I was always trying to lose weight and trying to be a little bit thinner to fit in my clothes. But I was going about it the wrong way. When I got to AMDA, all the teachers were like, oh, you've got so much talent. This is great. You are going to work so much in your 40s. Oh. And I was like, what? I'm 18 years old. What do you mean I'm going to work in my 40s?
I have also heard that. Because also, yes, with a background in musical theater, they're always like, you're going to play the leading lady who is usually in her 40s or 50s. And I was like, well, what do I do now? I just spent all this money on a degree. Like, what am I supposed to do? So I totally know where you've been. Definitely.
Yeah. It was one of those things, but the great thing, I'm happy that someone told me that when they did, when I was 18, because a piece of me was like, oh, I'm not going to work until my 40s. But then the other piece was like, I'm going to work in my 40s. that was also a good thing. And I'm 37 years old, so like I'm like 40 now. And that's because I'm working like a lot. And so it's
are you?
Yeah.
So I know the answer to this, but for our viewers, do you still do musical theater?
I have an audition actually for a grunge musical podcast. So yeah, sure. Okay.
But are your sites like Broadway bound still?
No. Broadway's an inevitable. You know, everybody ends up on Broadway eventually. By the time I'm 6, like I know that eventually, I believe eventually I will be on Broadway, only because it's such a passion. I love it.
Yeah.
And so when I'm 60 years old, yeah, someone's going to cast me because I will have had a catalog that just keeps growing. But I have to do the work beforehand to be able to get that particular job.
Right.
Because that's what it's a job.
Yeah. So after you came to New York and you started auditioning and like throwing yourself in there or putting yourself out there, like, did you struggle at all? Like, did you ever like feel like you needed to change your body or that it was hindering you? Like, did you have any experience with that?
For sure. I think that we all have our coming of ages, and we all have our moments of coming to terms with our body as it is. Because our body's constantly in an ebb and flow, depending on what's happening in our life. We fluctuate. Some people fluctuate 5 pounds. Some people fluctuate 10 pounds, maybe 20. Depends on like the stresses, life. There's so many reasons why we gain weight. I definitely did struggle with trying to lose weight. I went about it in unhealthy ways, and I did lose weight. And then time went by, and I did gain weight, and I've gotten to the point now where I am the size that I'm at. My body is not perfect, but my body is what it is today, and I'm going to love it, because if I don't love it and nourish it, I'm not taking proper care of it.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not taking proper care of it, my mind is not in the right place to be able to just get the things I want in life, because I then think, oh, well, I'm going to get new headshots whenever I lose 10 pounds. So when I'm a 14, I'll get new headshots. But because I'm an 18 right now, I'm not going to do the new headshots. So by me not getting new headshots, those casting directors aren't seeing my face because they're not getting a new headshot. So there are choices that we make that we limit ourselves.
Yeah.
And so with the body positivity movement, the best thing that comes out of it is the fact that you have to love your body every day. Every day.
And it can be a struggle.
It is life is a struggle. Life is a struggle for various reasons. You're going to struggle with mental health. You're going to struggle with your body weight. You're going to struggle with everyone around you. That's just life. But if you keep pushing through and you keep working and you keep nourishing yourself, the best investment you can ever make is in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're feeling super fat and really sad that day of like, God, I just feel like I'm really fat, so I may as well just eat an entire pizza. Not the right way to go about it, because by the time you get to that last bite, you're like, I shot myself in the foot even more. Yeah. As opposed to, I'm feeling fat today. You know what? I still want some pizza. I'm going to have a piece of pizza.
Yeah.
I may have. And then that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And you set like a limitation. So it's a long-winded answer to a question I don't even remember.
No, I love it because
we all struggle with
me, like you've never let your size or being plus size hold you back, which I absolutely love, because I know a lot of actors out there, people who would even be considered as like straight size people, they're like, I can't do this right now. Like, I'm not in shape. And so they do exactly what you just said. They don't get new headshots. They don't go to auditions, and they hold themselves back. And I think it's super, super common. So I love that that's totally the case for you.
No.
So what made you ultimately decide, though, to stop like making musical theater your focus and to try different things?
you can only love somebody who don't love you for so long. You know what I mean? Like, but that being said, like, I did get my equity card. I did off Broadway. I toured with a couple of shows. Like, I had success. I had the legitimate, oh, equity card. This means validation in this business of musical theater. This means I'm invited to go to particular auditions and they have to see me. So I did get that level of, okay. And then finally one day, a friend of mine was like, hey, I'm doing this web series called Skeleton Crew. Do you want to be in it? And I'm like, what's a web series? And he's like, it's like a TV show, but on the internet. And I was like, sure. So I go on set and I do the scene and then I'm like, God, I'm not a good actor. I'm bad at this. And we shot for a couple more days and we wrapped and I watched the footage and I'm like, God, I'm not good at this. This was a bad idea. But then I kept doing it.
Okay.
I kept doing it because he was going to do a season 2. And in season 2, I was like, well, I mean, if you are bringing me back and you do need to have a sister for me, you might as well just cast me as my sister too, so I can play 2 roles on this show. So I went from being an actor, an out of work actor that was trying to get musical theater, just like begging, like, please see me, look at me, to someone giving me the opportunity to be able to play not only 1 role, but 2 roles.
That is so exciting.
Who doesn't want that? It's the actor dream. Every actor wants to be Lindsay Lohan in Freaky Friday, or not Freaky Friday, the Parent Trap, and play 2 versions. Like everyone. Yeah. That's
incredible. And I've not seen Skeleton Crew yet. I'll have to put that on my list.
Yes. I love it. Shout out to my family.
So you started doing this different kind of work, these web series, which was new to you, also out of your comfort zone. Like, that also takes some guts. And it also, like, is awesome that even though deep down you, like, were self-conscious of your performance and you didn't think you were great, you're like, no, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to give this another shot.
Because I started to think about it, and I was like, okay, like, Rebel Wilson's real funny, and so is Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah.
But, like, I can do all that. So why am I not trying to do that? So it started with Skeleton Crew, and then I started taking classes with casting directors. Those little pay to play. So you'll go and you'll bring your headshot, your resume. Casting director will talk about something, then they'll let you do a scene. They'll film it, and then you kind of get that bird's eye view of, like, if you've never been in the room and auditioned for a casting director, you don't know what that looks like, specifically film and TV. So I started kind of getting into this other world, and I liked it, and I realized I was a good actor. I just needed to, like, pull my pants up and just, like, hoist my tits and go through it and just, like, do it, as opposed to, I'm not sure if I'm good at this.
Yeah. One question for you, because you know, I was like totally just a stage actor. And then after college, I was like, well, I should probably get some, like, try to do some film work. So I took some film classes and some commercial classes. And let me tell you, at first, it was really hard to see myself on camera because, I mean, they always say, like, the camera adds 10 pounds, but I don't know what it was. Like, seeing myself on camera, hearing my voice, like, it was like, I despised it and I felt so uncomfortable. It was awful. Obviously now, like, I have a lot more on camera experience, so it's different. But did you ever have that moment where you're like, holy shit, that's what I look like?
Yeah, but I wasn't sad.
Oh my gosh, I love what you're, like, blowing my mind, because I feel like,
no, I looked at what I looked like. I remember the first tape. I was doing a dramatic scene, and I was breathing the whole time, which is hugely important when you're acting, because oftentimes your shoulders will go like this, and you just become a weird version of the character you're trying to play. But I was breathing, and I did good work in that tape. And I looked at it, and I looked at it, and I looked at it, and I kept watching it. And I was really impressed.
oh my God.
And I thought, well, there's something there.
I love that. I love that. I feel like we should all be our number one biggest fans.
No one else is going to do it.
And
no one else is going to do it for you.
Such a perfect example of that. I absolutely love that. So,
but I think the thing of it is you have to figure out like Dolly Parton says, you got to figure out what your special sauce is, and then you got to do it on purpose.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
So if you notice, like, you do something, like if you notice that you do something and it's a little different, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Right. And would you ever say, like, your thing, what you do, would you ever associate your body type with that? Or is it beyond that? Do you not even take your body type into consideration?
No, I just know that my clothing may have a more extra yard. Like, that's really the only difference. But that being said, when a casting director sees me, you know, they're going to see plus size versus regular size, unless it's size blind casting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it kind of depends.
Yeah. And I think, you know, because I think a lot of people, they will put themselves in a box, and it's really hard for them to think outside of the box.
Yes.
Because I think personally for me, theater, what I found is like the very last sort of genre that has decided to be more size inclusive. You know,
Mm-hmm.
fashion is on its way, TV is on its way, movies, but I feel like stage work, they're still so stuck in their old ways of the very cutter, very slim bodies. And I always felt like me walking into a room, I 100% already had a deterrent against me. No matter how fierce I sang, no matter how incredible I acted, it was like my body held me back maybe 10%. And you never experienced that.
Oh, well, I mean, there was definitely times I put on, you know, a stiletto heel and wait over at Actors Equity with a bunch of people in front of me, and I looked like no one else in line, and I thought, what the heck am I doing here? But I got to go in there and I got to do a job, and I got to try to do a good job. Because it's not my job to go and tell them to cast me. It's my job to go in there and to do good work.
Yeah.
To do a good scene, period. If you
You
go
are
in
like
that room
fire.
but if you go in that room wanting them to cast you, you want something from them. No one wants someone to want something from them. They will want you if you just go in that room, you show them what you got, and you're entertaining.
Right.
You know, and it's hard because as performers, we want. It's no pay, sure, I'll do it. Yeah, okay, it's one line, sure, I'll do it. We want to do everything because we want to prove something to ourselves, to other people, and we just want to work. So there are all of those things also with it. You just got to make the decision that you want to perform, and you just perform, and that has to be the focus.
Right.
The work has to be the focus.
Right. And would you say that, because for me, when I was pursuing acting, I would always look, you know, in the rundown of characters, look and see, like, would that fit me? Would that fit me? And I would always first thing look and see if it was curvy or overweight or plus size. Have you ever gone out for roles that like 100% just usually are thin people?
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'll submit myself for anything that I think I'm right for, and I'll get called. I've gotten called for quite a few things that weren't specifically curvy.
Yeah.
And I've booked some, and then I've not booked others. Like it's gone both ways.
Yeah, because I think that's another problem, is that when Hollywood or Broadway or whoever produces a role for plus size women, it's about them being plus size. It's about them having this affliction, or they're the fat, silly friend. But your show is not about that.
No.
And I freaking love that.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you. Me too.
The Art of Blowing It. You are the main character. And she obviously is visibly plus, but you guys, it's never mentioned. It's never a thing. And it's so damn refreshing. And so incredibly refreshing. And so we get to focus on like your actual character. She's wild.
I know.
Oh my gosh. You guys, you have to go and look this up. So, Ashley, would you say, I mean, you have done so many incredible things. But would you say that the art of blowing it right now is like your most prized possession or work?
It's my baby. The art of blowing it. It's my baby.
Okay.
It's my baby. Like, Ashley, I never thought I'd be a writer. I never thought I'd be a director. Like, I just didn't think those were things. I thought people went to school for that, and like that's what they did their whole life. And I thought, well, I went to school for musical theater, and that's what I'm going to do my whole life. Like, I thought I limited myself when I was younger. But whenever I started doing film and TV and started taking those classes over at the Actors Launchpad, which is great for any actors who want to take classes. It's run by Tom Lapke. He's awesome. He's also on my podcast. We do an episode and we talk about him and talk about some of the things he's done, all musical theater stuff. I started taking classes there, and I was talking to this guy who works at ReelArc, and they develop reels for actors. And he cast me to be in someone's reel, and he's like, God, Ashley, you're so funny. And I was like, thanks. So like, how do you think I can make this work? And he was like, you gotta get your face everywhere, but you need to write something. And I was like, what do you mean? About what? Like, I don't know. So then I started thinking about it, and I knew I wanted to write about an actor. But then I was like, that's not enough. Like, I love the comeback so much, and Lisa Kudrow's journey in that, as she's an actor and like trying to do a comeback. And I thought, well, that's an inspiration, and I'm going to go with that. But like, what about a former child star? What about someone who had everything at such a young age? What does that do to you?
I'm so glad you brought that up, because one of my favorite lines is you say something along the lines of, I am jealous of my former, or
if who I was 10 years old.
Yes. And I'm like,
yeah.
Oh my God, I have definitely had those moments where I'm like, I am jealous of the time I was this years old.
Yeah.
I loved that line. It was so real.
Thank you.
So do you want to sort of tell our viewers in a nutshell, what is The Art of Blowing It about?
So The Art of Blowing It is about former child star Emmy Hart, fictional. Yeah, she's not really a person, but she is in this world. So former child star Emmy Hart is going to do a career reboot, and there's this little Canadian filmmaker named Felix Ziegfeld, played by the incredible Joshua R. Pangborn. And he's this cute little ginger, and he shows up and he's like, I'd like to talk to Emmy. And he's a perfect foil for Emmy, because Emmy's super out there and wild, and Felix is very demure and just wants to produce a documentary about Emmy Hart's rise back into fame. So that's the premise, and it's called The Art of Blowing It because Emmy blows things, you know.
Yes.
Tagline, fame doesn't suck, it blows. I've made so many mistakes in my life that I was able to take the inspiration of the mistakes that I've made and use someone trying, so Emmy trying to make something happen, and then just the ways that you fail. You know, like, we try to make certain things happen, but sometimes we just fail. We blow it.
Right.
And so it's about.
Oh my.
It's about trying to get back into the limelight, and Felix is trying to produce this documentary about her, and it's a wild world full of really interesting, weird LGBTQ, body positive, totally diverse cast. I tried to have the world be remnant of the world that I know and I see, and people that I know and I see, and how can you like fuse it without trying to make it seem artificial or forced.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the world that it is.
So how many seasons have you done so far?
So we're in our first season. We just finished our season finale just premiered. Part 1 premiered tonight on YouTube, and part 2 comes out next week. So that'll be the finale of season 1. And I'm currently writing season 2, and so we'll start production of that later on this year. And so season 2 will be coming out in 2022. I wish we could have it now for you, but
I know.
I need to be pregnant with her for a little bit, you know.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's how I think of it, because it is my baby. It's so funny how, like, you'll hear people say, and they're like, oh, it's my baby, it's my project, it's my baby. It is my baby, though. Like, every nook and cranny of her, I love her so much. I love everyone that was affiliated with it. Jose and Ebi were amazing cinematographers and producers that helped the show become what it is. The cast, I made everyone audition, even though I already knew them. I knew over half the cast and had worked with them, but I wanted to make sure they were right.
Yeah.
The roles. So I made everyone audition, and I also put some casting notices up there, and I had over 1,000 people want to be in my little show on Actors Access. And like, I saw so many different people, and it was really, really cool. It was really cool, and it's awesome to see how much people are loving the show, so it makes my heart happy.
That's awesome. Well, if you ever need a supporting role that looks like me.
Oh, girl, you've been in my mind before. Totally been in my mind. So for season 2, do not be surprised if you're in it.
Putting that universe. So what does it feel like to go from, going out for musical theater and trying to fit molds versus writing and creating? Whoops.
Sorry.
It's okay. Versus writing and creating.
So white. I was trying to fix that.
Oh, there we are. You got me? Did you hear me?
Oh
no. Okay, so the question is, how do you feel like now, like from in the musical theater world, working for someone else, trying to fit other molds versus writing and creating for yourself, and like literally just being able to produce your vision. And it's like, it doesn't matter if I'm plus size. This is my character, has nothing to do with her body. And this is what I want her to be. And this is what I'm going to produce. I mean, how different is that?
It's night and day. You're asking for permission to play a role for someone when you're being cast,
Yeah.
And you're doing it yourself. You got to do it yourself. And there's the pros and cons with both. But it's definitely the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I'm so grateful to Joshua and Jose along this journey, because they've helped me finesse it to where the show is as polished as it is. So many people go into making a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just so many people go into it on a normal set. Like, if you go on a SAG set, you got at least 15 people doing a job that they're necessary. On our show, we were on a skeleton crew.
Yeah.
Like, we had no body, but we made it work. We made it absolutely work. And I couldn't be more proud of the fact that we just, anytime something happened that was an obstacle, we made it work. Because what's the other option? When you're not, and also, there's also a lot of freedom in that, because when you're not with a network, you can make your rules. You can choose what you want to do.
Yeah.
But in the same time of it, like, you also don't have someone telling you what to do.
Right.
So you have to figure out what to do. So that can be daunting. I would just say have a great support system in play, or people you can bounce ideas off of that you trust. Friends may get annoyed with you. You got to ask questions to people.
Yeah. I'm sure that is so fulfilling, though. Like, you wear so many hats. Not only are you the star of the show, like, you're writing it, you're directing it, you're coordinating all of these people, you're casting it. That is such a massive undertaking. And like, bravo to you, girl. Like, that is so awesome, and not an easy task to do, especially in New York City. I just feel like New York City is a hard city to live in. And I mean, I applaud you so much. I cannot wait to finish the first season. I will definitely put the link to everything below so people can come and see you. Like,
Thank you.
just like, it's a transformation. Like, I just love it. I love it, Ashley.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I love it so much too. So it makes me so happy. It makes me so happy that people love it as much as I like. I love it. I love it so much because honestly, when I was a kid, I never imagined I would write my own show for me to be in.
Yeah.
I imagined I'd be in shows and I'd be characters. I always knew I'd be other people for a living.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't a question. But the idea of me creating something, it just seemed like such a big thing. But the best way to be able to do it is just to start really, really, really small. What do you want it to be about? And then you can keep growing from there.
Yeah, absolutely. What is your advice to someone who wants to get into this world? Like, let's start with writing. If they were like, I really want to make my own work, how would you start that?
Oh, I totally would take a class at Gotham Writers. They're the best. They're the best. I've taken multiple classes there, and I've gotten to work with some incredible writers who work in film and TV. They were wonderful mentors, gave me great advice. I got to collaborate with my classmates, and two of the writers that were in my class I've worked with since then. One of them actually cast me in her movie musical that she ended up writing and made. And then she also had me do a reading of something else. So like you meet people, which is, I mean, this business is meeting people. And so you get to meet people, you get to learn information. And I'm one of those people that when I don't know how to do something, I want to take a class so then I can like figure it out.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So that's why I took a class and I did it and fleshed it out. And then I just kept rewriting. The second thing is try to find some like-minded people that are interested in what you're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And either want to do like a barter system of I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine. Oh, #me too. Guess we can't really use that phrase, but I think we do something else. Like for instance, I was doing a voiceover job for Jose and Ibai, who did the show called Shaka and the Dog. And I was doing it along with Joshua Pigmartin, my co-star and my mentor. I love him so much. So we were both voicing these really cute dogs. And I told the guys that created the show, I was like, yeah, so I wrote this little show and I was thinking of doing it. And they were like, you wrote a show? And I was like, yeah. They're like, can we read it? And I was like, you want to read my show? Your stuff's really good. You want to read my show? And I was like, yeah. And they read it and they're like, we want to do it. And I was like, cool, let's do it. So we did it. And
that's incredible.
Yeah. But if you don't tell people you do things, they don't know.
Exactly.
So you got to talk about it.
Exactly.
But you got to talk about it in a way that's appropriate for you.
It might be scary at first, but like you just have to put yourself out there with anything that you do because you never know who you're going to come across.
Yes, for sure.
So
I would say take a writing class, and then like even if you want to start small and start with just like online creation of like TikTok videos and stuff, think of whose videos do you like? What kind of videos do you like?
mm-hmm.
Okay, think of what kind of videos, whose videos you like, and then take a piece of paper. Don't take some writing device. Take, a piece of paper and then write down ideas on a piece of paper. Writing things tangibly, it just makes such a difference creatively because it sends juices. You're literally writing and starting to create with your hands. So if you start writing down ideas, your brain's going to just accept these ideas that you've written down. So when you get to your computer and you actually start writing, you're like, yeah, I remember thinking of that. Cool. Yeah, that's great. Like it's a happy partnership. So physically writing, I think makes a big difference when it comes to like ideas and stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I physically write everything. Like I cannot do even like a planner or like a calendar online. I have to write everything. Otherwise
Me
it's
too.
my brain. So
Mhm.
really great tip. What tips would you give to someone who wants to become an actor who is living in a plus size body?
Yeah. So if you want to become an actor, do it. Go for it. If you want to become anything else, do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the choice to be a creative, because being an actor, you are not going to have a full-time job your whole life.
Right.
You're going to have a job for a while, for a minute. You may make a big check, but then you're unemployed.
Right.
So if you're cool with that and you're like, yeah, I know that. Cool, great. Join the club. If you're not, then go find your joy, go find your peace. But so that's the first question you want to ask yourself, like, are you okay with what the lifestyle is? And then if you want to act, go online, Google monologues of either comedy or dramatic, and just start reading the couple of monologues, see what kind of feels right, and when you read it you resonate with it, and then go ahead and start doing a little character analysis and like work through who that person is, and then take your cell phone and put some sort of blank backdrop behind you, put up a little light, and act in front of your camera. And then take that and maybe send it to a friend and ask them how you did. And if they're like, that's great, post that on your YouTube, post it on your social media, post you doing a monologue and hashtag it. Because I did this monologue from Fat Pig like 10 years ago, and it has 4,000 views online.
Wow.
I've promoted it. And I don't particularly think it's that great, but other people really like it. And I was doing it was an audition self-tape for something, and I sent it in, but then I also thought putting it online.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because as performers, when we're doing our research, because we know we're playing a role, we go to the internet and we search and we want to see. And so we learn from others, we see from others. So that's why I would say start working outside your box. Because if you really want to be an actor and you really want to work, you need to be able to live outside your box.
Right.
So the fact that you have fat under your arm, yep, it's going to jiggle. And when you move, it's going to jiggle. And if you got short sleeves, it's going to look like that. And if the camera's right here, you're going to see this. So if you're okay with seeing that, great. If you're not okay with seeing that, remember you got to turn. So you got to cheat. There's always a way. So, but moral of that is you just got to be kind to yourself, because there's always going to be someone skinnier than you. And the person that's skinnier than you has got their own struggle that they've got with their body. And you got to remember that. And oftentimes people project some of the stuff, and like someone calling you a fat pig or calling you gross things or anything like that has nothing to do with you. They're transferring something. You might look like somebody that they know who rejected them. You might look like their mama, and that mama pissed them off. It might be something just simple like that. It has nothing to do with you. Just because they left a comment about you doesn't mean it has anything to do with you. So you can't take it on.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about it.
Have you, like, this is kind of just not on the topic we were just talking about, but have you encountered a lot of that? Like,
no.
Amazing. You know, when I asked you, like, how, like, do you have any advice for people who want to become an actor in a plus size body? I love that the tips that you gave really could be tips for no matter what body you are. And it's so refreshing to me to meet an actor who doesn't put their appearance like up front and center. Like, you really, like, you're like, I'm talented, this is what I have to offer, like, it has nothing to do with my body. And I feel like that's super duper refreshing, because I do think that fat phobia is still alive and well in the acting world, and it needs to change. And I think what you're doing just by getting out there and, you know, not making your body a thing is huge. You know, I love that you go in for roles that would be cast normally thin. I love that. I love that you're creating characters that don't have anything to say about the body about your body. I absolutely love that. I think it is just great, Ashley.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
And now let's quickly talk about your podcast.
Yeah. I do have a comment about I guess we could use the word troll, even though, okay. So I did have someone, I'm trying to get Tess Holiday to come on a podcast. Like, I want her to come on, because why not?
Yeah.
Like, why not? Why not?
That's awesome.
There's no shouldn't come on the podcast. We can talk about life. We can promote what she wants to promote. And we can talk about fears. Why not? So I put something in the comments on a picture that she had put, and I was like, you should listen to this week. So then someone came to the podcast Instagram, and they were like, a long message. The highlights were, why do you want to get Tess Holiday? She's promoting obesity. Instead, you should have someone who's got cancer, and really someone who does exhibit bravery. Her wearing lingerie is not exhibiting bravery. That's the gist of the long thing. So I reached back out to them and I said, thanks for sharing. I really appreciate you sharing your opinion. While I disagree with you, if you have cancer or you know anyone who has cancer, I'd love to get him to come on the show and we can talk about fear for sure. That sounds really, really interesting. But more importantly, I'm a very small podcast with a few people listening, and she has a couple people that follow her. So if those couple people that follow her would come and listen to this podcast, yeah, they'd listen about her, and a few of them would stay and listen about some of the other performers that are on this show. I'm trying to run a little business. And not everyone is plus size that comes on my podcast, and they all have different stories and different struggles. And so it's more the overall picture. And this person was like, thank you so much for responding in such an intellectual manner. I truly appreciate it, yada, yada. And I was like, I wish you loads of luck. If you're a creative, let me know. You can come on the podcast.
My God.
Never back from them.
Well, it would be incredible if you could get Tess Holiday on your podcast.
That'd be cool.
Yes, so cool.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell people what your podcast is called and what it's about?
So it's called the Eff Your Fears Podcast, and it is a podcast that is for creatives, or centers creatives, and we talk about fear. So I get a whole bunch of creatives to come on the show: actors, singers, writers, directors, dancers, musicians. I have over 40 podcasts over on all streaming, so iTunes, Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcast, and I've had people that have been on The Voice come. It was one of our first episodes. I've got incredible content creators like Joseph Limas, as well as Sean Berry Parson, and awesome puppeteers like Chris Palmieri, like just so many really awesome people that I know that are creatives. And the reason that I started this podcast is because one of my favorite podcasts is Smartless and the Mark Maron Show. And the reason I love those podcasts is because famous people go on them and they talk about how they got from point A to point B. I like to know how the donuts are made. So I like hearing people's stories.
Yeah.
Because I learn something. And when someone else listens to it, they're going to learn something, and there's a takeaway. And I help navigate the interviews, and we talk about their life, of how they've gotten from their beginning upbringings to where they got to now in that specific realm, and how fear has impacted their life and how they deal with it. And everyone's journey is different, and everyone's got different responses.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of about meditation, but that's like the one common thing that pops up. But that being said, like, it's such an incredible community, and I'm just so grateful that I get to talk to some of the most talented people that no one knows about.
That is so awesome. And if you
Yeah.
watch my episode, I was a guest.
You sure were. I love your episode. And we got to bond over, and I got to learn more about you, and I also got to learn more about the modeling world, and it was so informative, and I would love for you to come on one of my video podcasts. That would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you should definitely check out effyourfears.com, and you can see all the episodes, and Ashley has an episode a couple months back. Such a wonderful episode. You're such a you're such a light. You are such a light, and it's just so great to see you coming into your own. And I cannot wait for you to be hosting on QVC and all of the things that happens thereafter and before. Like, it's all part of the journey. It's all a part of the gumbo. There's a whole bunch of pieces in it.
Thank you. Last week on the plus side, we talked about how to become a plus size model and influencer, and people really, really liked it. So I will definitely direct them to my episode of Eff Your Fears, because I do talk about, I think, more in depth of how I got where I am now. So I'll probably link that in the description as well. But I listened to your podcast while I was driving on a 20-hour road trip, and it is really inspiring as well. I really enjoyed like every single episode that I watched, and my favorite thing in the end is how do you F your fears, and how do you deal with your fears? And I just loved hearing everyone's different answers.
Me too. That's my favorite. I love, life is scary and like putting yourself out there is scary.
Yeah.
And boosting yourself up all the time is hard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and as creators and entertainers and performers, we get so much rejection, and we get those ups, and we get those blues after, and it's good to know that other people experience it. And it's also good to know how other people get out of it. So if you're feeling tough or some sort of way one day, and you're riding the subway and you're listening to the podcast, you get a little boost.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel better when you got to go do whatever you got to go do.
Absolutely.
So.
You have so many awesome things going for you, Ashley. You can now add model to your resume too, you know.
I'm a model.
You sang in all of those styles yesterday. That live on Facebook if you want to go see Ashley and myself doing some Valentine's Day outfits. And yeah, I'm going to put all of the links to your stuff in the description below, so people can go and see your Art of Blowing It and Eff Your Fears podcast, and find you wherever they can find you, on the gram, on the Facebook.
Yeah. The easiest way is now starring Ashley.
Yes.
It's simple on Instagram.
I love
now starring Ashley, and then there's whatever done.
So before we wrap, do you have any final parting words that you could give to an aspiring creator who may be struggling with their body, or just doesn't know where to start? Like, do you have any wise words from Ashley Monique Menard?
Sure. So if you're struggling with your body, remember that everyone is in that boat, and everyone is struggling with their body, size 2 to size 22. Everyone's struggling. So you're not alone. It may not be the best, but it's something. It's good to know we're not alone. But if you're struggling with your body, and you're also struggling with, I want to do this, but I don't think I'm good enough, you owe it to yourself to try. No one wants you to be an actor. No one wants you to be a singer. No one wants you to do what you want to do but you.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you do what you want to do?
Yeah.
Try. You are so worthy of being able to sit at the table. You just have to wait for someone to get up. And while you're waiting for someone to get up, you got a lot of shit to do. So figure out what you want to do. Google steps to get there. Listen to my podcast and learn how other people have done it. Listen to Mark Maron's podcast and the Smart List podcast. Do your research. I'm not the most talented person, but I am extremely driven and motivated.
Yes.
Why? Because I know what I want. And I'm gonna die trying. And I'm cool with that. If that's how I go out, that's how I go out. And I know that I spent my life doing what I love. Because as much as I'm not, a series regular on a Netflix show, if that's exactly what success is. I am a series regular on a show that a lot of people watch and find so much joy and fulfillment from. You have to celebrate your successes where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Don't celebrate your successes where they are, and you're always looking for that next thing, that next thing, that next thing. It's the exact same thing as waiting to get new headshots.
Yes.
It's the exact thing. You love your body. You love your talent. You love who you are. You celebrate who you are. You have to nurture yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Your mama did the job. You got to do it now. You got to be your own mama. So that's my tips.
Yes. No one is going to give you a chance unless you give yourself a chance first.
No, everyone's busy doing their own stuff.
Yes.
No one can think about you. No one cares. So this circles back to wonderfully what my mother said. If others can see it, if you can see it, others can see it. That's bullshit.
Wait,
sorry.
say it one more time. What did she say? I think you cut out.
When I was a kid, my mom used to say, if you can see it, others can see it. I call BS on my mother, because if you can see it, no one else is watching. You need to just like put it out there, so then others will be able to see it.
Yes.
Everyone's so stuck in their own stuff that
Everyone.
do your thing. You take care of you. Be your number one champion.
Yes. Because all those nitpicky things that you're worrying about, everyone is worrying about their own little nitpicky things.
No, I mean, if your gut, you're not happy with the way that your gut is, go for a walk. Like, go for a walk and just try not to eat sugar before bed. Like, start super small. Don't hate yourself for it.
Right.
You're not helping yourself in the day.
Right.
You're not. And I say that because I've had so many days where I'm like, we all go through it. We all go through the bad vibes with our body, but you have to make a conscious choice to be kind to yourself.
Yeah. And I also think that, like, if you're having a day with bad body vibes, I really like that phrase, it's temporary. It really is temporary. It could be the clothes you're wearing. It could be that you ate something crazy for dinner and you feel a little bit extra bloated, but in reality, you look the same.
Mm-hmm.
You're having a bad hair day and then you decide to take it out on your body. It could be
Mm-hmm.
things, but it's temporary.
Yep.
You have the ability to feel fabulous. You have the ability to feel fabulous today, tomorrow, in a week, no matter what your body is.
You're saying it.
So I 100% echo you in that, if you want to pursue a career as a creative, whether that's writing, acting, directing, singing, everything that it actually does, go for it. Don't let your body or anything else of your insecurities hold you back, because you got to give yourself a chance before anyone else does.
The first musical I ever saw on Broadway was Aida.
Okay.
So I'll quote Aida. Oh my God, it escaped my head. Oh yeah, there are no shackles on you. You don't like your fate, change it.
I love that.
It's true.
Yeah. Yes.
Right?
You're so right.
Aida. Tim Rice.
Well, oh my goodness, Ashley, thank you so much
Thank you
for coming on here. You are our very first guest. We've had Jamie, who is also a CoEdition team member, but you're our very first, I guess, non-CoEdition team member. And I wish people could see you in person, meet you in person, because your energy is infectious. Like, every time I see you, no matter how maybe down I had felt earlier, when I leave, it's just I feel like I have a pep in my step. You are such a delight.
Thank you. Yeah. That means so much. Yeah.
And I cannot wait to continue to binge watch The Art of Blowing It. I have to watch it. Ashley's character is incredible. She gets to play so many different personalities. It's just so much fun. It's just so fun, and it's refreshing to see someone like you, someone who's plus size, be the star and not have anyone mention your weight. It's just awesome. I love it so much. Your character is so funny.
Thank you.
And the writing is brilliant. And also the fact that like you're a woman and you did everything is also so inspiring.
Well, I didn't do everything. There are a lot of people on set that did an incredible job, and I'm so grateful to Jose, Ibai, Josh, Stuart, Paul, everyone, Anthony doing sound, like just Nakia, like everyone has done an incredible job loving and nurturing my baby.
Well, you're the glue that sticks it all together. Okay, so I'm gonna let you go so I can keep watching this. Everyone, be sure that you go and follow Ashley. You can find her right on Instagram at Now Starring Ashley. I will be sure to link everything that she has available that you can go check out on the World Wide Web. She is such an incredible creator, and let's go support her, okay? Thank you so much, Ashley, for coming on, and I can't wait to see you soon.
You're the best, Ashley.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.
See you later.